We can't say the future without AI. I mean, there's no way around it. 50% of workers now believe AI is going to improve their experience. When I come into the meeting room, I need a way to incorporate my AI with what's going on in the meeting. It's almost a bring your own AI type of a concept. Most of what we do in our day-to-day is going to change significantly.
Hear the latest AV trends and predictions in this episode of Crestron's Smarter Spaces podcast on your preferred podcast platform.
Hey everybody, and welcome back to another episode of AV Career Masterminds. If you are watching us on YouTube, you see I am not at home and not sitting in my office. We are actually here in Orlando at InfoComm, day 2, actually right now, middle of the day. It's been wonderful. So I'm so excited to have a guest here, because if you guys heard me talk about, or if you read any of my posts, I'm a big proponent of people coming to trade shows and events if they're looking and trying to find something. So I am so excited for my guest today, who is actually here looking. So Nathan, please introduce yourself.
Sure, so 30-second elevator pitch here. My name is Nathan Danek. I've been in the industry my whole career. Started in events for a number of years, transitioned to corporate about 10 years ago, and I worked for 9 years for a large pharmaceutical company. I won't name them. You can look it up on LinkedIn. Yeah. And I was impacted, unfortunately, by a large layoff late last year. And it's been an interesting journey since then, but I am still looking, considering some other options as well. And I came to InfoComm this year. I've been to InfoComm I'm probably jumping ahead, but I've been to InfoComm probably about 9 or 10 times. I was trying to figure out whether this is 10 or not. Right. 10 years. COVID kind of screwed things up in there.
It did. Everybody that we talk to, when you talk about your InfoComm experience, everybody says, this is my 19th or my 20th, and then they go, no, you don't count the InfoComm year.
Years.
Yeah,
those years don't exist.
Yes. So. Well, great. So you came here. You are not local to Orlando and to Florida. So being the big industry show, what was your thought process on saying, I need to bite the bullet and get down here?
Well, I think part of it is just so ingrained in me. Like, I've been to so many InfoComms, I would have been really sad, honestly, to miss it. And I considered, my options, and I was very lucky. I got some very affordable flights down here, and then things kind of worked out. And it's been really good. I've met a lot of new connections. Of course, I've reconnected with a lot of contacts that I've had in the industry. I'm glad I made the decision to go. I only made the decision probably about a month out. Thinking about InfoComm, I was like on the fence for a little bit. Yeah. And then I found some cheap flights, and I was like, I'm going. Good. So I'm so glad I made that decision. I think it's a great decision for any job seeker in the industry. There's so many people here to network with. I'm excited to see what the numbers are for this year. Yes. But it is absolutely packed on the show floor, and really, really a great decision to be here for any job seeker. Good.
So as you're doing this, are you have your resume with you? Do you have it on a thumb drive? Because I have my own thoughts and feelings about doing that, but did you come prepared with that, or just more of an open, let's have a conversation?
Yeah, great question there. Something I thought about, and I think if I maybe had put a little more preparation into it, I probably would have done, in hindsight, a business card with a QR code. I do have a QR code on my phone, and that's kind of when I meet new people, I have it ready to go. Connects people right into my LinkedIn profile, which also has a copy of my resume on it. Right. Which is a good baseline if you're looking for a tool to kind of connect folks easily. I'm not necessarily a fan of carrying a huge stack of business cards. Right. It's also like the AV digital trade show. Why are we still carrying tons and tons of paper around?
Exactly. You just kind of throw them in your back pocket.
That, and it seems to be working pretty well.
Good. So have you seen hiring managers as you're going through? Are you asking, what's your process coming? Because I've done the same thing you have in my career, where I've been unemployed during InfoComm and bit the bullet and got there, and I had my own personal process of the way I handled it. But What has your process been as you've gone through the show talking?
My process has been really focusing in on existing connections. I have a lot of connections, a few on the event side, a lot on the corporate side, especially in UCC, with manufacturers, a few peers, but that's kind of where I'm looking to build additional connections. I think I have a pretty good baseline on the manufacturer side, but I'm really trying to build more connections with peers across the industry, on the corporate side. So I have been focused on connecting with the manufacturers to try to get introductions to peers.
Okay.
I generally don't approach peers directly unless it just kind of works out.
Right.
Standing next to someone.
Yeah.
But I have been able to get several introductions, and that's been very helpful.
So what's the position you're looking for? Are you looking to be at like an integration company? Are you looking to be in the manufacturing? What side of the industry?
Question. I am definitely focused on the corporate side.
Okay.
I was a senior manager at my former employer, and I really enjoyed managing AV at scale. So we had 1,200 conference rooms around the globe. We had large offices across Asia, Europe, Latin America, North America. It was exciting and interesting, and I think the challenge of deploying AV at that kind of scale, I really enjoyed it. I also learned a lot, and I think that would be my ideal position, would be at a large, like Fortune 500 company, managing AV kind of globally.
So that's interesting that you say that, because I never thought of it that way. I think of the show as coming here and either going to work for a manufacturer or going to work for the integration company. But you're coming here saying, I want to, in my words, be the end user customer.
Right, in so many words.
In so many words, right? So just to kind of make it layman's terms, you are coming here wanting to find a position where you have now become my customer.
Correct.
That's interesting. So are you finding great feedback on that? Are people saying, oh, I know this company or I know that company? Or are they at least saying, oh, I don't know if this company's hiring, but...
Yeah, I'm not really focused on whether companies are hiring. I'm asking for introductions to kind of peer organizations, similar to what I was in biopharma. Yeah. But I'm also open to other verticals as well.
Okay.
So I'm kind of trying to build my network and explore what is out there. Building relationships is really important to me.
Very important.
It's all about relationships in AV. So that's where I'm starting. I'm not focusing on if there's positions available. Usually that comes out in a conversation if there are.
Yes, it does. Yeah.
But I'm more focused on just kind of building those initial relationships and just, building connections with people, which is what it's really all about.
So, because when I look at the show, I look at the industry, and HETMA has a big presence as far as the technology managers and being what we would consider an end user. I've always said I would love to see more verticals, end user verticals here, for those exact reasons, to be able to say, hey, we do this on a daily basis. We do AV, we understand AV. So in part of the search for you and wanting to be that person in an organization, are you finding certifications are going to be important? Do you think certifications are going to be important? Or what's your thought and feeling on that as far as certification?
So that's an interesting one. I had CTS years and years and years ago and let it lapse, and I haven't bothered to renew it.
Like myself. You are not the only one.
Also, as a former hiring manager, I respect CTS and what Avixa does, but I didn't usually use that as a qualification for getting a job.
Right.
If you have CTSD, that's certainly a higher level of respect, for, at least in terms of technical ability.
Right.
I think that represents something, but I find that a lot of folks, just through being exposed and being around the industry, working in the industry, they have the necessary knowledge, and their experience, to me, speaks more than certifications. That said, we'll see. I might in the next few months just go take the test. And just check a box. But
and not even CTS certification. You know, there's all kinds of other ones. You know, there's some Crestron certification, Dante certification.
Right.
You know, Logitech has some certifications. So when you look at those types of things, and if you have managed conference rooms and doing that UC and doing what goes on in Zoom rooms and team rooms and things. So is there a feeling for you that some of those certifications that pertain to a conference room type are beneficial? Do you think that if you have those or would get those might set you apart from somebody else?
So that's an interesting question, and it really depends on the specific role. So if it's more of an engineering role, I think those are definitely beneficial. I'm a couple years removed from the engineering side. As much as I love rolling up my sleeves and working on, you know, a DSP or AV system, I'm a couple years removed from that. I do have a lot of certifications from a lot of manufacturers. Some of them I'm starting to realize are just out of date and I need to renew them. I just did the latest Dante level 2 and 3, which I got, I don't know, 7, 8 years ago on the first edition, and now we're edition or 2 beyond that. So I did have to refresh those. But I think it really varies whether that's helpful just entirely based on the position. I'm not excluding engineering level or type positions on the corporate side, but I'm definitely more focused on kind of management of AVIT systems at a higher level.
So when you say corporate, everybody designs corporate and describes corporate a little bit differently.
Certainly.
I heard you mention it, but let's just mention it again for our listeners and everybody that's looking. When you look at corporate and we look at corporate America, what area of that corporate entity would you like? So kind of break it down, maybe a little bit of a vertical kind of area.
Sure. I'm looking pretty broadly. I'm looking at the financial industry, the insurance industry, of course, biotech, anything in pharma is near and dear to my heart where I spent 9 years. But I'm not really excluding many particular verticals. I've watched even higher ed a little bit, which would be a different turn in my career if I went down that path. But I'm open to exploring different possible paths. And I'm definitely broadening my search as I go along.
And what are you doing to find that? Are you on LinkedIn? Are you using any of the Indeed and the job searches that are out there?
Yes.
Okay. So all of the above.
All of the above. LinkedIn, Indeed, Diced, Avixa.
Okay.
A lot of the.
So, and being in a position, kind of the reason why I started this podcast is I was looking for a job and trying to get through all of the bots that go out there, right? And doing the resume and sending in. So for some of those, it is a little bit different in that type of an industry, right? You need to know probably a little bit more people if you're trying to get outside of that within AV. But staying in AV is a little bit easier, I think, when I was looking. But how has that process been going of seeing the job posting potentially and just doing the straight online application going, I love the way this sounds. I probably could do 60% of it. I know I can learn the additional 40, but I gotta submit the resume. That's the process to get to the next step. How's that part going?
So that's interesting because the market right now is super competitive. It is just, there are so many talented individuals out there looking. I have former colleagues that are looking. I have a lot of industry contacts that are looking. It's super tough out there right now. So I think I'm really now, at this point in my search, I'm more focused on connecting with people and having a connection before I even apply. I've certainly done blind applications, over 150 of them.
Well, you have to. You can't not. That's part of the process.
Right. But I find I'm getting a much better response rate when I have a connection already at the company of some kind.
Yeah. Now, have you gone through the hey, do you know somebody that knows somebody kind of process also?
I'm toying with that a little bit.
Okay.
I've found that, I think I don't know what the numbers are. I am keeping data on my entire search, so it'll be interesting to kind of look at it when I'm done. But I think anecdotally it feels like I'm getting a 10x response when I have some kind of connection with the company, even if they're not in the department or not related to the role.
Right.
Having some kind of connection definitely makes a difference.
Awesome. So somebody looks at your LinkedIn profile, you do the application, somebody looks at your LinkedIn profile. My whole motto of why I talk to everybody is say we are more than words on paper. So what is it that if somebody is listening or you want to be able to send this to someone and say, hey, take a listen to this, what is one or two things that you can't put on your resume, right? For whatever reason, that you want people to know about you through this job search process?
I think it's really difficult to show soft skills. It's really difficult to show how you've built those relationships in your past organizations, how you've really, developed those strong partnerships with manufacturers. That's really challenging to kind of show on a resume or LinkedIn profile. Certainly there's things you can do to kind of tell stories that kind of, in a roundabout way show it.
Right.
But it's certainly difficult.
Yeah. Well, I mean, we don't know each other. Right. And I do this, and I saw that you were coming and reached out, which I think was amazing that you said yes. Right? You're taking a chance and being able to sit down and talk with me without even really knowing what this is all about. Said, let's sit and talk. You say, okay.
Yeah.
So that's great. That's great for somebody to know that. I think it's really important because then it shows the ability to have the conversation, talk to people, reach out, be willing to talk.
And that's really difficult. I'm glad you brought that up. I am naturally the world's biggest introvert.
Okay,
and
interesting.
I am great at building relationships, but very much like one-on-one. If you throw me in a group of people that I don't know, I will stand in the corner and wait until someone talks to me.
Okay.
I'm totally an introvert, but it's definitely, I'm definitely having to push myself outside of my shell a little bit as I'm networking. And it's a little uncomfortable at first, but you kind of get used to doing it to some extent.
And being here at InfoComm, and if you're attending any of the evening events that are going on, regardless of where they are, the type of event they are, sometimes they're quiet, sometimes they're not so quiet, and there's a lot of music going on, so when you have to try and talk to somebody, you're going to kind of yell.
Right.
But how's that experience going? Have you attended some of the evening events?
I have. I was very fortunate that a manufacturer I have a great relationship with invited me out to a nice dinner last night. I was able to talk for several hours with several other folks who were attending a customer appreciation dinner. And it's been, those kind of environments are great for me personally. This is kind of a smaller environment where you already have an soft introduction to someone, and you can just have a natural conversation over dinner. It's certainly more challenging when you're out at like a big party after hours or happy hour that's just jam-packed with people, and you're trying to talk to someone, and a lot of the times you don't necessarily have that introduction first through a third party. So those are definitely more difficult situations.
They are, and I am the one that I learned from the best, Chris Netto. He taught me a great lesson of go, stop, say hi, walk around, be seen, and so definitely have done that and learned well from him on that. But that is the other thing is to be out, to be seen, and then you can say, oh my gosh, did you see Nathan? Oh my gosh, no, I didn't see him. He was there. That's the whole thing with it. So as we're coming down to our time here, again, middle of the day of day 2, are you staying through tomorrow? I know a lot of people usually head out on Friday. What's the rest of the week look like for you?
So I have a little bit different strategy. I like Friday.
Okay.
So the way my flight worked out, I arrived midday yesterday.
Nice.
So I left, excuse me, lots of talking today at InfoComm. I left in the morning and I was here midday and came straight to the show. And I'm here through Friday. I leave early Saturday morning.
Nice.
And I take advantage of Fridays at InfoComm. A lot of people write it off, and I know a lot of folks are tired, especially on the manufacturer side. You've been here. A lot of folks got in Saturday, Sunday, Monday, and they've had a very, very long week. But Friday, the show floor is quieter.
Yes, it
There's
is.
more opportunities to have more in-depth conversations with others on the floor.
Yep.
People are usually a little bit worn out, so they're not as in a hurry to rush off to the next
Correct.
thing. There's less scheduled activities. So I find Friday is a great opportunity for job seekers to have those just genuine conversations with folks, and it's a different vibe totally. But I like Fridays.
And I think you are absolutely right to that point. And as you talk about that Friday being quiet and job seekers, so let me ask you this one last question. InfoComm and AVIXA have not set up a career fair. I know some other organizations that have trade shows do career fairs. Do you think being here that it would be beneficial if there was some type of career fair, some type of place to go to where you can say, hey, this is what I'm looking for, whether that's the manufacturers, whether that we as an industry reach out to the organizations because they have AV, we're all selling it to them, and say, we are now going to open this. So is that something that you would think would be beneficial for AVIXA to start introducing here at InfoComm?
So I really have mixed feelings on that. A lot of my networking is really kind of based around building relationships, whether there's anything open or not. And I think that is beneficial. To me, I think that's more beneficial than necessarily having a limited number of positions or approaching hiring managers who have positions open and limiting yourself to that. I think it's not a bad idea, especially perhaps for more entry-level positions to help folks as they're trying to break into the industry.
The youth coming in,
exactly.
The young coming in,
I think for more experienced folks who have 10, 15 years in the industry, it's not needed.
Right.
So
but more so for that youth coming in, that younger generation, or somebody that's doing a complete job change and says, I want to get AV. How do I do this? Okay, AVIXA, something to think about, right? Something we need to introduce. Well, Nathan, thank you so much for being on. So tell everybody where they can find you and how do they get in touch with you?
Absolutely. So I'm Nathan Danek, again, on LinkedIn. You can find me. I'm based in the Boston area. And if you're in biotech, finance, pharma, any large enterprise that is looking for an AV IT manager, please reach out. I'd love to have a conversation about it.
Awesome. Well, thank you. And guys, thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. Make sure to tune in and take a look at all of the amazing podcasts on AVNation Media. And again, remember, we are all more than words.
The network for the AV industry.
What are you listening to?
This
is AV.
This
is AV Nation.
This is AV Nation.